Hey guys, this is a module for discussion. I'm going to start off by answering some of the questions. How does your text discuss self-talk and the occasional conflicting cultural messages that occur in our own talk? The text basically says self-talk is all the things you actively think about when you're going through daily life. It's your mind rehearsing situations or making decisions, planning, or even wandering off into random thought, and it's basically just your inner voice. Sometimes your self-talk can contradict other voices. The text illustrates this by saying, or by giving an example. It says, you may hear the voice of your boss or perhaps one of your parents admonishing you about personal responsibility and duty. On the other hand, you may imagine your friends at the restaurant saying something to the effect of, you deserve some time off. So, in this case, the boss or parent's voice is conflicting with your own. The time this happened for me is when I really wanted to go to a party my friend was throwing, and he was texting me to come over. But at the same time, my internal dialogue kept reminding me that I had work at 6 in the morning. This was obviously a conflicting view, and it ended up not going, even though I really wanted to. Discuss the development of trust in relationships. How is this development impacted by cultural difference and other concepts discussed in Chapter 4? When forming new relationships, trust is non-existent at first, and there's often a lot of anxiety about the uncertain. But as time goes on and the relationship has more frequent interaction, the level of trust is increased, provided it hasn't been breached. Most people have relationships with somebody with a different cultural background, and oftentimes trust works the same way with these people. Although, depending on how they are raised, trust might be more difficult due to past experiences or other people breaking their trust. Knowing this, gaining someone's trust might take longer or more work, but this doesn't mean that it's not worth the extra effort. The text supports this by saying, trust takes time, and with that comes empathy and understanding. In what ways does signaling interest in conversation differ across cultures? What is the implication of these potential differences? How might they impact the formation and development of intercultural friendships and relationships? Some cultures signal their willingness to conversate by making eye contact, initiating small talk, like in America. In Mexico, the text says you may observe the abrazo or warm hug, followed by a backslap and handshake between men as they greet and initiate a conversation. In Indonesia or China, they may start the conversation asking about your family or your professions. The text says Australians, however, are often perfectly fine with making a statement about something that is easily observed, like the weather. The implication I made was that initiations are in every culture, but they are often different. Not knowing how to initiate conversation with other cultures by just not even caring to study about it or anything like that, it can cause awkward situations and a lack of communication, and thus it halts the potential relationship. In Module 2, we discuss how some of the identities that shape who we are more valuable than other identities. Review the identities discussed between pages 173 and 179. Which of them do you believe play a stronger role in shaping your cultural identity? Which do you have more control in shaping? And which is most important to you right now? I think psychological identity plays a stronger role than most, as it's the easiest one for us to change. It's also the identity that we like to associate ourselves with, as it's who we believe we truly are. It doesn't really matter what we look or sound like. It's about what type of person we are, and that is a big part of our cultural identity. It's often the identity that others usually choose to identify us with as well. My psychological identity is what I consider to be the most important because that is what I usually want people to see. I don't want people to judge me with what they can physically see. I want them to see me and my personality and my behaviors, how I treat people and how I treat myself. The text defines psychological identity saying that it involves cultural associations with our minds, our actions, and behaviors. Bye.